I started off by doing some individual lessons with kids that were on my caseload. And last year, I took the plunge and made it a tier 1 intervention. My principal had come to me and expressed concerns about our behavior data with self-regulation and physical aggression, and asked if there was anything else we could do. We had been a zone school for 5 or 6 years. We had zones of regulation education across the entire K through 5 school, but it wasn't working per se, given the data. So at first I was like, oh, we could work on triggers and we can do this. But then it dawned on me, wait a minute, IA comes first. That is, the building block of self-regulation. So let's step back and really delve into that. And luckily, when I pitched the idea to my principal, he was all for it and on board and very supportive. So I developed an 11-week program based on Kelly's Interoception awareness curriculum, and it was implemented during our social emotional learning time period every morning for 11 weeks. That is a big question. I delved into that a little bit with some other OTs that are in the world of academia to how can we look at and actually get some evidence. And it was challenging when you looked at our behavior data. Unfortunately, it did not show an improvement in physical aggression. But when I sat back and really thought about what changes I did see, I saw a lot more, I think, awareness of the kiddos' bodies. After the 11 weeks were over, once a week, I would get on the announcements, and we as a school would do an IA activity. I would invite everyone to participate, and I would do it over the loudspeaker. And when I would walk back to my office, I always passed kids and they're like, Mrs. King, I did this and it felt this way, which was brand new, right? Like you never had kids talking about their bodies and having the vocabulary and even the forethought to talk about their bodies. So while there's not hardcore, evidence, I would say it's anecdotal evidence that kids are now thinking about their bodies. They're more aware of their bodies. One of the big things I stressed with the staff is to get curious, not furious, when we do have some behavior problems. So, and stepping back and taking a much more like holistic look at what could be causing the problem. Probably the biggest challenge was me not knowing how to adapt the curricula that you develop into tier 1. So I had to wrap my head around that and, definitely got some input, but really just like you said earlier, take the plunge and just try it. And, it was really kind of fun to be able to be creative and to make things up and figure things out. And so probably getting over myself and my own self-doubts was the first barrier. And then the second barrier was probably buy-in from the teachers. So I did training. I did at least 2 trainings. One was over an hour long on what IA is, why we're doing this, the neurology behind it, and the program itself, how to implement it. But yeah, I think those are the big barriers. But I definitely stressed that, we are trauma informed and kids can participate at their own comfort level. So whether that is sitting at their desk and doing the exercises or, helping a friend count how many repetitions they're doing something, or just sitting there and listening, everything was accepted and allowed. We did not force them to participate. Well, I think they don't jump to, oh, it's a behavior. Oh, it's, the negative. I'm hoping that I've kind of turned the tide into it's much more of a positive. What can we do to help this child? Not what can we do to fix this child, or, and taking some ownership and responsibility that we are the ones that need to do some of the changing, not necessarily the child. and hopefully also letting them understand that everyone experiences things differently, so that there's no wrong or right answer, and everyone, they might have the same experience, but it feels different to them. They interpret it differently. They have different reactions. So hopefully that has improved. I would say just do it. It is overwhelming. Like, I spent all last summer developing this curriculum, and it was 11 weeks. I'd never done a lot of these things on the computer before. I never made a workbook that all the students use. So there was a lot of firsts for me, but it was really rewarding to have it implemented and to see the kids enjoying it. We have IA Detective Jimmy back here, which our teacher drew and developed. We are the Cougars. And so, and then I had the whole school participate in naming him, the character. I had my music teacher write a little jingle. So when the kiddos hear the jingle on the loudspeaker, they know, oh, it's IA time. We're going to do something fun. So, just being creative, getting trying to get the whole school involved, and them taking ownership of it too. I think that's definitely helpful. To be familiar with the curriculum, like, it definitely, of course, helped that I had done it individually with students first. So, and I kind of did it to myself too, right? Like, when you're doing it with the students, you're experiencing it. At least I did, right? I experienced it, and I came up with I did the experiments with the kiddos, and I kind of was learning my own self a little bit better. So I would say you definitely need to be really familiar with the curriculum and have a good handle on that before trying to take it, to a larger level.